Thanks for clicking on the video. My name's Tom Alsop, and today I'm going to show you why it's very important that you're able to serve without using your wrist. Now, I know there's some coaches out there that recommend a lively wrist to generate some racket speed, but I'm going to explain and demonstrate why it's very important that you can have a neutral wrist throughout your entire motion. So every day I'm working with players both on court and online through my video analysis program, and they're coming to me with serves that are a little bit funky. And usually what players are doing is they're using too much wrist. Now, the wrist helps you to do two things. One is it will help you to get a little bit of power. You may have seen videos by Patrick Mouratoglou. He talks about using the wrist to generate that little bit of power, to snap the racket head, and it will give you power. But the problem with that is if you don't have a technically sound serve, it allows you to get away with loads of rubbish stuff. You can throw the ball all over the place and just kind of snap the racket and, you're all right. Up here, whatever. It might go in. You can start manipulating the racket with your wrist and, sometimes you'll get a hold of one and it'll be a great serve. But what I recommend is sort of the other side of this, which is to take out the wrist. If you remove any wrist movement, and I don't want you to be too tight. You can kind of just be neutral with the wrist. But if you keep a neutral wrist and you say, okay, we're going to serve like that, we're not allowed to use the wrist, you have to do certain things right in order to hit a solid serve. And the things you'll have to do to compensate for no wrist will develop more technically sound movements. So if I do this, for example, and I'm going to do a full service motion here without any wrist, you'll see what my arm has to do for a start. It has to supinate and then pronate through. So in order to be able to execute a serve without using any wrist, I'm not saying there's zero wrist, but there's no extreme positions. It's pretty neutral throughout. The way we're going to do this is we don't have to do anything to get into the trophy position. This is a pretty simple movement. Once we're in the trophy position, we're going to supinate the arm. So this elbow is going to turn in and lead the way. Usually I practice it coming forwards like that, but when I'm serving, it's going to be thrown up a little bit more. But from this position, the arm supinates, and then the arm pronates into contact, and then just rotates around the body. So we're just rotating the arm in and out, and the arm just rotates in and out. And it's a very easy way to move the racket head around the body. Let's give it a go. So I'm going to hit a couple of spin serves here, 2 slice serves, 2 top spin serves. And again, I don't need to use my wrist. Here we go. That'll do. That'll do. So when people ask me if Patrick Mouratoglou is wrong because he's saying to use a lot of wrist to generate racket speed, is he wrong? No, he's not wrong. That will help you to generate racket speed if you loosen up the wrist and get the racket head moving more freely. But it might not be the right path to go down for you. Develop a technically sound serve without the wrist, and then once you've got to that stage, then start loosening up your wrist a little bit so you can snap the racket head through a little bit quicker and get yourself another 10 miles an hour. Let me see if I can do it. If you're struggling to execute your service motion without using your wrist, I recommend using a ball tube. You can use anything really, just something with a bit of weight to it. Now, if I start to use this, especially if I fill it with some balls, using my wrist is going to feel a little bit awkward. So what this is going to do is it's going to train me to just rotate my arm and this thing around my body. So all I'm really doing here is rotating in and out around my body. And because it's heavy, because it's got a bit of size and it's a bit cumbersome, it gives me feedback. Because if I start getting a bit wristy here, it's going to feel terrible. Again, especially if I fill it up with a few balls. Now if I start moving it in weird places, it's going to give me some feedback. So I want to just move this around my body in the most efficient way possible. And this is the motion you'll need to serve without using too much wrist. This is just me rotating my arm and obviously this ball tube around myself. Click this video right here. I go into more detail on how to use this to really improve your service motion.